much better ministry when you and I are healthy. I'm much better service to God, to my boss, to my team, all of that. Because I can do incredible ministry, but if my marriage falls apart, then what have I accomplished?
In all of the good times and even the trials, through tears and through laughter, yeah, I know that I'll smile when I think of you. Smile for the things you do. Smile, God gave me you. You are a reason I smile. Yeah.
This is Behind Our Smiles.
Pursuing connection.
And finding joy.
Even in the struggle.
So Tara, I've noticed I don't get a note in my lunch very much anymore.
You like those notes?
I do. For the last 5 years, Tara has, without fail, pretty much every day, made my lunch and written a nice little note that she puts in the lunch, a little love note. And I love that. I look forward to it.
And you're probably
and I've noticed, number one, I'm
now.
kind of making my own lunch a lot of the time. And I don't write myself a note.
I'm really slacking, aren't I? I do make a lunch for you probably twice a week.
Yes.
But the days that I
But those lunches don't always
go
get
to
notes.
work.
They don't
We're talking about going to work. And now that I have to go to work some days, it's not that I don't want to make your lunch. It's like the morning's really crazy getting out, and it's like literally I'm walking out the door and I'm like, oh, I didn't make your lunch yet.
Right.
Now, sometimes I give you 2 notes if I make your lunch to make up for the notes I missed.
And sometimes you give me a note when I get home. Here's the deal. It's not a big deal at all. Yeah, I appreciated you making my lunch for 5 years, and it was awesome. But I love that what you're doing now is so cool, and it's fun to watch. You get filled up with that. So no problem at all. I noticed yesterday, hey, it's been a while since I've had a note.
We're being flexible, right?
Hey, we're Joe and Tara Buchanan. You're listening to the Behind Our Smiles Marriage Podcast. We are so glad that you're hanging out with us. And one of my favorite things about the podcast is what makes you smile about your husband or wife. And Tiffany shared this about her husband, Ryan, knowing he is currently loving what he is doing at his work, the way he loves on junior high kids and shows up on the hard days, bringing joy and encouragement to the staff and the students. Bonus for the days he shows up at their games, even as a mascot sometimes, even without being asked. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Tiffany. It sounds like Ryan really loves his job.
We were talking about work last week, and that same concept of like, if your husband or your wife are doing well at their job and being fulfilled, and it really does bring smile to your spouse, knowing like, look at that, they're doing great, they're succeeding. Versus like if they're struggling, it affects your marriage too. Yeah. So I love hearing about stories to say how much joy it brings a wife to see her husband doing a great job with students. And I'm sure the students appreciate that too.
Yeah. So we're looking at our whole lives, how marriages impact our work and work impacts our marriages, because jobs play a huge role.
Have you ever done the calculations?
Even if you're just looking at the pure hours, right?
How many hours have you ever worked in your life, Joe?
Right. I don't know, but that's fun. That's a fun thought.
It's a kind of crazy. So work is a lot and it's hard and it's stressful, but having each other in marriage is what makes our job sometimes a little bit easier as we face whatever challenges we face on the job.
Yeah, Tara, having you has definitely made any struggle or challenges that I've faced in my work life a whole lot easier. So
that was part of my job for a while, was to help support you too. Like since I was available, I did enjoy that. So what are some ways that I have supported you in your jobs, in our married life? And that's a lot of years, but you can pick a year and pick a role, or you've had different roles throughout our years.
So like for instance, I can't pick out an outfit to save my life. Like the outfits that I like, I don't know why, but I really enjoy Tara picking. I obviously could pick out my own outfits.
I'm a personal stylist.
Yes, you're a personal stylist.
There we go.
There have been several times where she's like, "Is that what you're wearing to work?" And so eventually I was like, "Tara, can you just pick out my outfits?
Help you get dressed." There we go. See?
You make my lunch, or at least you used to.
I make your lunch half the time. Half the time.
You ask me a lot of what do you need? How can I help you? I think when it comes to like, there's a lot of creative side of like blog writing or writing spots that air on the radio or those kinds of things. You're really good at proofreading, but also helping me come up with ideas. So I'm able to say to you, Tara, I really want to have a spot that captures this. Here's what I'm thinking. And then you can take that and you fine tune it so well and you make it sound good, and you can speak in my language. So you kind of,
I'm your muse. No,
yeah,
we do
and then
enjoy.
we
That's
work
been a
it together.
privilege, though,
Yeah.
about your job and not every job has that crossover where it's like you can kind of work. But we had an element, and part of it was that you worked from home so many years that there was a little bit of overlap there to say, what's stressing you out? Is there something I can kind of like help you figure out and help you kind of figure, and then again, check your spelling, because your spelling sometimes is a little lacking.
You are my spell checker long before they had spell checkers. But I think sometimes it was like I wanted to say something, but I couldn't quite articulate it right, or it was sounding kind of childish, or it was sounding this way. And you were able to take it and say, no, this concept, I love what you're saying here. Let's say it this way.
Well, and the other side of that too is I think everyone has that email they have to write.
Oh yeah,
to say,
that too.
I have to communicate this. It's kind of a delicate situation. Am I coming across too harsh? Am I coming across too lighthearted? And to have that second person to say, is this communicating what I'm trying to say? I'm like, yeah, it sounds too lighthearted. I think you need to be more serious, or you sound too serious. Make it more lighthearted. I don't know. We've had a lot of those kind of conversations.
Oh, it's taken so much stress off just being able to bounce those ideas off you, even if you say what you wrote is great. And I remember earlier I'd be frustrated by that. Like, no, I sent it to you to change. Like, change it. You're like, no, it sounds great.
Too many words, make it shorter.
Right. But that has been a huge help to me. I think on that is talking through situations. So when I had situations at work that I was working through or wrestling through or trying to figure out what exactly to do, where there's multiple paths that you could take, that was a lot of fun to be able to bounce those ideas off you and say, Tara, what do you think about this? And what am I missing here? What are the unintended consequences here?
Or like burdens or things that just were heavy on you. Like, okay, I want things to work out okay. This is bothering me or concerning me. And sometimes I'm like, Joe, you're sweating for nothing. I don't know why you're sweating. But just if there's a level of, I'm not happy or worried, and we kind of talk through things if things are stressing you out.
I do tend to overthink. So I do appreciate you telling me you're overthinking
You're great. Your boss loves you.
Yeah, right. But celebrating wins.
Everyone loves you.
Yeah, right. No. Going back to how have you supported me? Celebrating wins is a big one. And I think you hear this in songs and you hear this in movies and stuff, that it's not really a win unless the person you love is a part of it. But I have one story that I absolutely have to share, because I don't think I realized how much celebrating a win impact. So I would always downplay my wins. I don't know why I did that. I just, whatever. It's your
past.
Yeah. But I downplay my wins. So anyway, I'm at a national conference and I win a national award that I didn't even know I was nominated for.
As
and
music director of the year.
Yeah. So it was a reflection of the work that I was doing at the time. My peers in the industry gave me this award, or voted for me to have this award. Anyway, I didn't even know I was nominated. But anyway, this award show happens, and it was just the most surreal moment in my life. Like, oh my gosh, what in the heck is going on here? And I call you, Tara, to tell you, because I was out of town at this conference, to tell you that I won this award. And I was just like, hey, just so you know, I won an award.
What's this dinner?
I won this award. And I remember thinking to myself, like, you were just going to say, oh, great job, Joe. And then you were going to move on and we're going to talk about the kids or what's going on for the day. And you absolutely freaked out.
I was like, wait a minute, you have an award for what? Like, who did what? Like this for the whole year? Like, wait, all of music directors?
You were like screaming, you were excited.
I was like, Dave, that's amazing.
And you talked about it for like 10 minutes straight. Like, I can't believe this is amazing. Great job. This is awesome. And it just made it so much more real for me to go, wait a minute, this is something really exciting. So other people congratulated me. Don't get me wrong. Other people were like, hey, great job. That was awesome. And I appreciated that. But having you celebrate it the way that you did really just brought it home for me.
And again, sometimes there are big wins like that. And other times there's just small wins. Yeah. And maybe for now, it's like my budget's balanced or something. Right. I don't know. Like I finished a spreadsheet and maybe it's a small win, but hey, you know what? I've been working on this spreadsheet and trying to get the numbers to balance out for a few weeks and it's done. I'm like, hey, you got it done.
I got this.
Although I guess in your line of work, nothing's done. But, you know
what? I'm actually, I used to be naive to think that was only in my line of work. It's in everybody's line of work.
Your work is never
There's
done.
always more to do, and it's
That's
it's
why you
never
need that
truly
constant
done.
encouragement to go, okay, that part of the project is done. Let's celebrate that win and then keep going. Right?
Yeah. And the way that you pray for me, I really appreciate that. It is a privilege for me to say to you in the middle of the day, hey, I've got a hard meeting I'm walking into, or I've got this situation, or this listener just responded and it's heartbreaking. Would you please pray for me in my response? Would you pray for this? And then for us to be able to stop what we're doing, jump on the phone and pray together, or at home, obviously stop what we're doing and pray together. I think for me, I probably should have listed that first, because that's been huge for me to know that, number one, you've got my back that way, that you're advocating to our God on my behalf. And I know the Bible says somewhere, like, if you leave a hurt in the heart of your wife, that
Yes.
God won't hear your prayer. And so I'm always like, but anyway, that verse, whenever I read that verse, I was like, oh my goodness.
The question is, will God hear my prayers, though?
Right. So I'm always like, if I feel like, I'm going to rabbit trail for 1 second. When I feel like God's not answering my prayers, when I feel like God's been silent, I'll go to Tara and I'll be like, honey, have I left a hurt in your heart? Because I feel like God's not hearing my prayer.
Could be.
But anyway, the fact that you were willing to pray for me is awesome.
That was huge too, because again, it's your job and you're still doing things that I can't do with you or for you. But it was like, okay, I know that I can pray through this situation for you. And even that those times where you're far away, you're maybe in a different state, handling different things and saying, okay, I can't go with you. But I can pray for you because I know that your burden's heavy and you're trying to accomplish whatever it is, and to pray for that strength. I love being able to help you in that way.
Because the radio there's an aspect of fun in radio. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stress, but there's a lot of fun. But when you do radio ministry, that's a whole different thing. And I am grateful I got to do that. But Tara, I'm gonna flip the table here for a second, or change seats. How have I supported the work that you've done?
Well, in our world of mothering and being home all the time, just always being willing to help and your encouragement. And even what you say too, hey, Terry, you're doing a great job. Terry, don't give up. I know that it's been a hard day, but you're doing it right. And how can I help? And just kind of be able to be available for me too, whatever way that was. And just, even if you couldn't solve my problem, kind of asking how you can help always made me feel more encouraged.
I was always taught I shouldn't try to solve your problem.
Yes. If the thing I need done, you can't do, it's like, but even the little things along the way, even I had a lot of volunteer work I did over the years for various things. And I remember one time too, I've always taught classes outside the home. And one time going, oh my goodness, this fell apart and I have this thing ready for tomorrow and I don't have the right supply. And you're like, hey, I'll stop at Michael's on the way home. What do you need for your thing you're doing in your classroom tomorrow? I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so helpful. I do not want to go to Michael's right now and get the paper or the supplies I needed for the craft. And it was just like that ability to say, yeah, honey, what can I do? I can stop at Michael's for you. And I'm like, you're my hero.
I became a really good IT guy.
Oh yeah. So that's your number one, is almost all work somehow comes back to your digital world and going, I can't open the file. I can't find my file. The program just crashed. How do I do this? And I'm about to lose my mind. And it's like, fix it. And then you fix it for me.
So you know how to become a really good IT guy? You hang around people that have less knowledge than you, and then you look like a really good IT guy. No, but you've learned a lot over the years in doing that, and it's fun as we have grown in our marriage and stuff. This is unrelated to our marriage, but it's fun that you don't ask for nearly as much help anymore.
But I sometimes like you doing it because it's more fun to have you do it. And you're like, turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the big one.
You do it for me.
Have you turned it off and back on?
I don't want to do it. But as of late, we're shifting. So now that I work 3 days a week, and your help as well. So instead of you packing, me packing you a lunch, you're always like, okay, what do you need? Because I'm getting my things ready, and you fill up my water for me. You have your keys, bring my bag out, just those little things that, and then of course the hug and the kiss goodbye. I feel like are always nice. To just making sure you're okay. And you'll text me once in a while and say, how are you doing? I just love having your support. It really has made a big difference with me kind of navigating a new schedule.
I appreciate that. Now that you are working, and I know this is back even when you were a stay-at-home mom, because as I said last week, and I'll say this 1,000 times to say it once, is that you worked much harder than I did, even though you didn't have a quote-unquote job as far as what our world would say, that you had a very hard job in raising our kids. And so I appreciate it. But one of the things that we learned early on or worked through early on was that comparing that workloads of going, hey, you have it harder than me, or I have it harder than you.
It's impossible to compare. Like, it's just, there's so many ways that our lives were different but the same, that I think even if you're either both working jobs, you still could say, well, your job, you're easier here, or that's harder here. And there are some days that my job was definitively harder than yours, like in moments that I'm saying this was incredibly difficult, right? Draining, tears, anger, end of your rope kind of day. And there's other days I'm like skipping to the park going, I got it so easy. And you were in a hard situation. So I think moment by moment, they're always different. But I think our temptation is to say, my work is harder. And I think we can't get into that comparison because it never is going to even out. Every job has their ups and downs and perks and
I
hardships.
think it's a lifelong process of learning, because I think there are still times when I find myself having to stop for a minute, because if I focus on why I have it harder, it's not that I have it harder, it's that you don't have it hard at all, right? Because I'm focused on this side of things. And I think when I can separate myself from that to say, wait a minute, Tara may have had a hard day today too. So I try always, and we try to beat each other to it, but to say, hey, how was your day? What happened in your day? So that I'm not solely focused on what happened in my day.
And there's so many different kinds of work that makes it hard. So like part of work is like the physical element. Let's say you have a job where you're physically working. Even like this past summer, Sawyer's working in the warehouse where I work, and his job sometimes is very physical. Like his hand comes home and his hands are sore and he's tired from lifting boxes all day. I'm like, man, you worked hard. And he's like, and you sit in an air-conditioned office at a desk all day? Like, you got it easy, Mom. I'm the one who's doing the hard work, right? And like going, well, my work is different. I don't lift boxes. It's not as physical, but it's like emotional work, thinking work, mental work, solving problems work. So I know for you, Joe, you didn't have a very physical job. You mostly were a desk job, but like you were solving complex problems in your head all day. So you'd come upstairs or come back home from work tired from just thinking.
My famous last line in 8th grade was, I'll never need this math. Right. But I do want to back up just a half a step and say that I don't think I've ever, Sawyer doesn't typically say I've got it harder than you.
He can make a comment once, a couple of times this summer that, office people don't work as hard as the warehouse people. Just one of those things. Like
he is 15.
But it's, he wasn't complaining. He was just commenting like.
But I think too, it doesn't even have to be hard like that as in physical, because the pressure, sometimes that's what we end up comparing. Well, I've got it harder because I've got more pressure, or I've got more things that I have to figure out. And by doing that, I actually belittle you, right? I actually take away from what you're doing instead of saying, hey, I'll bet you have a lot of pressure too, but right now I feel like the world is on my shoulders.
I think pressure is a good way to say it, because you could say from your end, okay, the pressure is, let's say in your job to succeed, whatever that is, success. I need to meet these markers. I need to get these things done to accomplish the mission of my employer, or else, right? Like if things go wrong at this job, we lose a provision, we lose this. So there's always a pressure to maintain, like I've got to keep doing a good job. So there's that. But then like for me, I had a different kind of pressure at home. My pressure wasn't to like lose a job, but like going, these kids' needs are never ending, and it's literally all on me. Like I have to always make sure the children have what they need, even if I'm outsourcing it. And like that's a lot of pressure. We had different kind of pressure in different ways. It wasn't like.
Yeah, I remember one time the kids were asking what's for dinner, and your response was, "Didn't I make you dinner yesterday?" It's always deadlining, right?
It's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah, always having deadlines.
But I look at it this way, and I think this is the way we've worked in our marriage, Joe. It's like the cumulative pressure on our family is ours to carry, right? Yeah. So you're carrying pressure from work, I'm carrying pressure from home, or carrying pressure from other things that we're involved in, and it all goes in the bank, and we equally share it. So even like with monetary, so obviously jobs, you get paid, and not, most likely someone's making more money and someone's making less money. But in America, we say, hey, it all goes into the same bank account, and we all share the proceeds of our work. And I think it goes the same with pressure. Instead of saying, well, I'm almost like I'm making more money, or you're making less money. Hey, maybe my job has less pressure or less stress, and maybe yours has more. That's okay. We're going to put it all in the bucket, and we're going to each share and help each other out. Because again, week to week, it can change from you having it harder, I having it harder. So we say, hey, whatever it is, we're going to share it.
Yep. And there, you play a vital role. I know there's a lot of research on this, but I will be more successful if I allow you and you're willing to speak into my life and my job. And so there have been plenty of times through the years where I think if I got a promotion or whatever, I had to give you credit for that because you spoke into that. You really helped me grow in an area that I needed to grow. And so I really do appreciate that very much.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing I think we're working on really better now that we've had this shift in my job too, is again, not to like say harder day, last day. It's like, okay, we both come home from our day with different stuff. Maybe it's good stuff. Maybe it's bad stuff. Maybe your day was awesome. Mine was awful or whatever. But saying we're going to share the load and not worry about who brought it in. It's all coming in the same home.
And there are seasons. There are seasons where work is pulling a lot. And there are seasons where it's not pulling as much. And I think that work-life balance is really important, and understanding where my identity comes from, what is driving that.
Well, it goes back to, are you what you do, right?
Yes.
Are you what, it's almost like you introduce yourself. Well, what are you? I'm a teacher. I'm a pastor. I'm a professor. I'm a garbage truck driver, whatever. And I think we're so tempted to say that's, what we do is who we are. Yeah. And it's not necessarily the case, because then if you lose your job or you don't stop your career and change, wait a minute, what am I, right? Understanding we're not necessarily our jobs. They don't define who we are.
Might be an outward expression of who we are inside. But like, I know we've asked the question, like, is our life our work or work our life? And it's a complicated answer, especially when you're doing ministry work, because there is an aspect of it going way further than a regular job when you're talking about kingdom things and you're doing ministry work. But it's also still being able to separate myself from that. My identity is not tied to that. That's a reflection or an outpouring of my love for God or what I do, but it's not who I am.
Because it goes back to like, well, if you lose that position, if you lose that role in whatever you do, would you still be okay? And it's hard sometimes if you're so used to saying, but this is what I do. This is who I am. And I'm no longer this thing anymore. And it kind of make you flounder a bit, not knowing, well, who I am, who am I? And what am I here for if I'm not this thing?
And if our identity is tied to our work, we're going to tend to be out of whack with boundaries too. We're going to tend to be workaholics. We're going to tend to spend more time there. And that was, I think for us, one of the blessings we had was literally when I worked from home. I think we had decent boundaries and we understood the work-life balance. There were seasons, obviously, that would pull me away more. But working from home, we couldn't just let it naturally unfold. We had to be intentional to say, this is home life, this is work life. And so I think there was a couple of reasons that was a blessing. One is it caused us to face it head on and to be intentional about those boundaries. But also, because I was at home, I was able to work. I felt like I worked more than I ever worked, but I was actually home more than I was ever home. So it was kind of a nice balance there.
Well, I think there's some jobs that are different. So, your job is like this idea of like clocking in, clocking out, right? You go home and you're done. Then there's more of a career where you have a level of responsibility. And I think then you have jobs that if you own a business, if you're in ministry, where it's like, okay, I have this role, but I have to be available. Like if you're a pastor or a business owner and you just know, hey, the call's going to come in, it's coming to you. You can't not answer it. You can't not fix the problem. That's happened in your life, Joe, so many times going, this is my responsibility. Like, sure, I don't want to interrupt my life right now for this, but this is what my job entails. So I think it's harder if you have a job that implies a lifestyle. And I think of people we know that are in ministry, like pastoring. It's like, hey, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a job you clock in and out of, but you still do it in service to God and say, okay, when I say I'm giving my whole life to God, I'm giving my whole life to God. But carving out those little parts of your life to say, I can put aside even my ministry and my work for God and still focus on our life. And it's a tricky thing to actually do.
It's very hard, especially because, like I was saying earlier, there's always more to do. There's always more you can do. But I think for me, what I felt like God, through mentors in my life, through people who spoke into my life, one of the things that, first of all, I work so that I can have a family from the standpoint of work alone, ministry aside. I don't have a family so I can work, right? But I think having great, wise people speak into my life over the years really paid off from this standpoint of understanding that in those seasons when work wasn't demanding, when it wasn't pulling, I really invested as much as I could. And I thought about it like a savings account. That was kind of the mentorship that I got. I was look at it as though you're putting something away, you're putting equity away. And then in those seasons when it was daunting or pulling at you a lot, where you had to go do it. We're off the air at 2 a.m. We have to go get us back on the air. Those kinds of things, or seasons where we just were pulled away, we had that equity to draw from. And then you knew Tara, because we talked about it, that my heart was home. I just couldn't be home in this season the way I wanted to. But when that season would end and we were back to a lighter pull season, I was able to get more at home.
Well, the tricky part is, you would say that, apart from God, like my wife is my priority, my kids are my priority. Okay, but not legally, but technically speaking, you're spending more time with work. It is the biggest time stealer. But to somehow, and I think, Joe, you did this very well, to say, yes, I have to work. I have to be away at work. And yes, if the phone call comes at 2 a.m, I have to answer it. I have to go take care of it. But you still are my first priority. And I still, the ability to still communicate that you're my biggest priority, not my job. Even though the job does take more time, it doesn't take the most of your heart. So again, going, hey, if this job went away, I'd be fine. If you went away, I'm not fine. Like in the end, the job can come and go. And we've seen things in your life kind of ebb and flow with your job, but the common denominator is me and you. Like, again, coming to the point where someday you'll retire, right, and going, the common denominator is me, and not, again, living to work instead of working to live. Yeah. So I think that's something we've had to kind of tackle in each season, how to say, okay, we need to work. The money needs to come into the checking account. We need to have a job. And we even look at our job as a ministry and look at everything we do as service to God, but also saying it doesn't mean that it can take over every waking moment of your life. Because I can do incredible ministry, but if my marriage falls apart, then what have I accomplished? And so I think, and actually, to be completely honest, I mean, I am honest, but you get the idea. Just this one time, Joe.
Yeah, just this one time. To really level it.
Okay, let's I do
much better ministry when you and I are healthy. When my marriage is in a good spot, I'm much better service to God to my boss, to my team, all of that, when we're in a good place.
Well, I would spread that out to anybody, I think. If you are having marital struggles too, I think most people are not necessarily as good at their work. Where a strong foundation at home and being connected there, I think does make you a better, whatever it is you do, whatever your title, your role, your job is, that work-life balance, in a sense, benefits both your home and your job than if you're skewing too much the other way. If you're completely neglecting your work responsibilities, that's not good either. But to recognize, hey, I'm doing all this over here so that I can invest in you and care for our marriage.
Because we do work as if we work unto God. We serve man from that standpoint, but it's really God I'm serving ultimately. He's the one that's going to have the final say on whether I did a good job or not. And
whatever assignment, we mentioned this last episode, whatever assignment that we're in.
Yes.
Whether we're at home, whether we're at work, whether we're caregiving, to say, I have to steward this assignment well. So if you have a job, you have to do it well. This is what God's assigned you to do. And then if I have to be at home, that God's giving my home to steward as well, and saying I have to steward both of them at the same time, which is tricky.
Yeah. It is tricky. We appreciate you listening today. We appreciate you hanging out with us. If you have thoughts, maybe as we have talked, it stimulated some thoughts that you have, or you have some things you'd love to add to the discussion, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us anytime, Tara, Tara, @behindoursmiles.com.
See you next time.